Put that.
It's okay, we understood what you wrote.
Okay. Now, mode of nutrition are always of two types, autotrophic, heterotrophic. What is the meaning of auto?
Self.
Self. Very good, Unmana. Auto means self. And what is the meaning of hetero?
Dependent.
Dependent. Very good. So dependent, right? And what is the meaning of trophic?
Nutrition.
Nutrition, or to derive nutrition. Very good. Good, Unmana. You're able to recall everything. Very good. So now even autotrophs are of two types, photoautotrophs and chemoautotrophs. What is the meaning of photo here?
Light.
Very
Light.
good. Light. So basically plants which can make food in the presence of light, that is sunlight. And what is the meaning of chemo?
Chemicals.
Chemicals.
Very good. So basically these are plants which can make food in the presence of chemicals. Because maybe they don't, either they lack chlorophyll, or they have less of chlorophyll, or they require certain chemicals to prepare food.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
ma'am, in chemoautotrophs, they don't completely use, do they partially use sunlight or they don't even use sunlight at all?
So it depends, on what is the chemoautotroph you're talking about. There are certain chemoautotrophs which require, sunlight. There are certain chemoautotrophs which do not require sunlight.
Okay, ma'am.
Because, for example, see how nature has been designed. For example, this is the sea or the ocean, right? And deep, deep, deep within the sea, as in, it's just the ocean floor that I'm talking about here. Do you think sunlight would reach here?
No, ma'am.
Never.
No,
I
ma'am.
mean, never. So all these plants and animals and, all these things, corals here, has never known what is sunlight, has never seen sunlight, because this is like a few thousand feet deep, right? So if they don't get sunlight, how would they prepare their food? And these are plants. So there are certain chemicals, which are there dissolved in the ocean water. Of course, oxygen they can take. They can take certain minerals. So when we say chemicals, that would be certain minerals. With the help of these minerals, they derive nutrition and they prepare their own food. Right? So these fall under the chemoautotrophs. They get a lot of nitrogen, from the sea. See, under such deep water, normally there's a gas, which normally evolves, because wherever there is less sunlight, whichever area is dark, you will always find methane gas coming out. Methane gas coming out. So here there is
Why?
because because in the presence of oxygen and other gases, carbon dioxide, and with no sunlight, there's certain kind of decomposition that happens, and that is when that place is. What is methane? Methane is, that stinky stinky smell that you would find in very dark, dingy places.
Ma'am, it's the simplest form of carbon.
It is one of the forms of carbon. Yes, one of the forms of carbon in a gaseous form. The state of matter is a gas, and normally, gobar gas plant and all those plants, they emit artificially, they are made to emit methane, and this methane is also used as a biofuel.
Ma'am, even when in our chemistry class at school, ma'am said that they even keep it in our kitchen cylinders so that we can get to know when our cylinders are leaking.
Yeah, so basically, the liquefied petroleum gas basically doesn't have any odor, but the extra odor is being added to that. Right, so that whenever there's a leakage, we, with the help of a smell odor, we get to know, oh, there's a leakage. Otherwise, LPG cylinders or household cylinders never have any odor. It's been added, and that's not the methane that's been added. It's some other strong chemical that has been added. I'm not too sure if methane has been added to that or not.
Ma'am, we had it in our textbook and ma'am told
Oh,
us.
okay. All right. So basically here, deep down in the ocean, when there's no sunlight, there's a lot of methane gas present here, right? So there are certain plants which use these methane gas for their nutrition. Those are known as methanogens. There are certain plants which use nitrogen. They are known as nitrifiers. There are certain plants which can, absorb or take in the sulfur that's present in the seawater, right? So they are known as the sulfur oxidizers. So these are all chemoautotrophs. They fall under the plant kingdom, but they lack chlorophyll. They don't get sunlight, so they have made their own arrangements. Is that clear? 4. Who will be able to take me through these 4?
Ma'am, can I?
Yeah, please do.
Ma'am, parasitic means that these plants live on other organisms' nutrition.
Hmm.
Then, and then saprophytic, like they live on dead plants and animals.
Very good. Okay.
And symbiotic, they are like friendly towards the host,
Hmm.
like lichen and fungus, ma'am.
Okay.
And they
No,
share
that's
each
algae and
other.
fungus.
Oh,
Hmm.
okay. Algae and fungus, they share with each other. And
Hmm.
then insectivorous plants means they derive their nutrition from insects.
Very good.
Ma'am, parasitic plants, didar and saprophytic plants.
Parasitic, did you say cuscuta? What did you say?
Ma'am, something dear or
I heard, what was that?
Ma'am, devdar.
Deodar. Deodar parasitic, how is it? I'm just trying to understand, how is Deodar parasitic?
I'm sorry, I forgot. Not that.
ma'am,
Cuscuta.
I think it's daughter.
Yeah, there is dodder.
Ma'am,
There,
I think she meant that.
okay, so parasitic is cuscuta. What about saprotroph, saprophytes? Unmana?
Ma'am, Indian pipe.
Indian pipe, yes. I don't know how many of you remember we had discussed about this plant Indian pipe quite a lot.
Ma'am, and coral roots.
Coral roots, okay. And what about symbiotic?
In lichens, algae and fungus.
Lichens, yes, lichens, fungi and algae. Okay, what about insectivorous?
Pitcher plant.
Pitcher plant, yes, sundew.
And
Okay,
Venus
things like
flytrap.
that. Correct. Okay. Now tell me something. What is the difference between parasitic and symbiotic?
Parasitic harm other plants and
Hmm.
symbiotic, they work in favor.
Very good. So
Ma'am, I
basically,
remember you gave us this example that, okay, I don't.
in parasitic, also there is a host, and if I may use a word guest, not guest, but it is basically a parasite, right?
Ma'am,
So
you can say it's an intruder.
intruder, yes, kind of an intruder, but normally, with an intruder it comes and goes away. But this is come to stay. The parasite comes to stay, right? And what happens is that it destroys the host. It spoils the host. It deprives the host. It takes away everything from the host. That's what the parasite does. And there comes a time when the host completely disappears, and all over the tree or all over the place you will only find the parasite, which is the cuscuta, in case of a cuscuta. Right? But in case of a symbiotic, both have a very friendly relationship. It is known as a win-win relationship, where both of them get something or the other from each other. So they have a win-win relationship. Correct?
Like an example.
Huh?
Ma'am, if you say which example, like.
So in case of lichens, Priscilla, Unmana, who will be able to explain about lichens, the symbiotic relationship that lichens share?
So like lichens, it's a symbiotic relationship between a algae and a fungus. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's an algae and a fungi working together. So go
Ma'am,
ahead.
can I
Yes.
tell?
yes,
Ma'am, can I tell, ma'am?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Actually was that I know that they work together, but how? How does it
Ma'am,
benefit
can I
you?
tell that? Ma'am, the lichen has, it produces food, ma'am,
Hmm.
and then it shares to the fungus.
Hmm.
And because fungus can't produce its own food,
Hmm.
and then because lichen cannot stay on any surface properly, they can't
Hmm.
stick properly.
Hmm.
The fungus helps it by giving shelter
Hmm.
on it, helps it stick to something.
Hmm. So basically what happens, lichens is basically a friendship between algae and fungus, right? We know that algae has most of the time these are blue-green algae, so they prepare food, right? And this provides shelter. Algae cannot, algae really cannot host onto or stay on something else. So what they do is that they get shelter here and the fungus gets food here. Is this clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Fungus provides shelter, algae provides food, and this is how they became the best of friends. And they have a win-win friendship. Is this clear now?
yes, ma'am.
Are we totally clear between saprosymbiotic and parasitic, or because
Yes.
these three especially have very thin line of differences. Insectivorous plants, we all know, we have been studying since childhood, but these three you have to be very clear.
Ma'am, clear.
Okay, good. All of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. Now we come to autotrophic nutrition one by one. What is the picture that's been given there?
Ma'am, cells
Cells
with chlorophyll.
yes, cells with chlorophyll, right? There are thousands and thousands of chlorophyll just in one small leaf, right? So entire world, is just surviving because of these green dots out here, these green pigments out here. Can you believe it? If there were no plants, there would have been no further life on this planet Earth. Because directly or indirectly, we are all surviving on these green plants.
Ma'am, but we can eat mushrooms and live.
But do you think there's enough mushroom for us to suffice? There are so many people who do not have mushrooms. And where do mushrooms grow?
In
How do
forest.
mushrooms grow? You will
Ma'am, they
find,
grow in forests.
yeah, they grow in forest. Whenever you will see that, they are very closely found trees and there is no sunlight going through here, no sunlight passing through. Here you will find mushrooms where there is no sunlight. So mushrooms also need a shelter called trees, green plants. So you will not even find mushroom. And how does mushroom come in? After all the dead and decaying matter of the plants, trees fall down on the soil, they decompose. That is how the mushroom grows there. Isn't it? So mushrooms are also indirectly dependent on green plants. No green plants, not a single life on earth. Simple.